Welcome to The Explainer. You know, every once in a while, a film comes along that's more than just a movie. It's an event. It's all over the box office, it's fueling endless debates online, and it just feels like it's everywhere. This year, that film is without a doubt Ryan Coogler's horror epic, Sinners. It's part historical drama, part vampire thriller, and it's got everyone talking, and for good reason. Today, we're going to break down why. $350 million. Look, a film can be a hit, but we all know Hollywood loves its superheroes and sequels. It is so rare for an original horror film to grab the world's attention and wallet like this one has. Sinners just exploded at the box office, making over $350 million worldwide against a $90 million budget. That's a massive return. We're not just talking a hit, we are talking about a true Hollywood titan.
But it's not just about the money, right? The critics are absolutely loving it too. In a mid-year poll with over 150 critics, they hailed Sinners as the best film of 2025 so far. And that is a huge deal. You know how this works. The big Oscar movies, they're usually saved for the fall. For a spring release to be getting this kind of awards buzz this early? Wow, that just shows you how powerful this movie really is.
So the big question is, how? How did a vampire movie set in the Jim Crow South become the cultural event of the year? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We'll look at it as a Hollywood juggernaut, dive into its world of blues, blood, and brotherhood, unpack that big central metaphor of the vampire as assimilation, talk about the power of music, get into the debate, is it a flawed masterpiece, and finally, why this whole thing is so much more than a movie.
All right, first up, Hollywood's new juggernaut. Okay, let's just start with the numbers, because honestly, they tell a pretty incredible story that just defies all the modern Hollywood trends. I mean, you go to the movies these days and it feels like everything is a sequel or part of a huge franchise. But this movie, a completely original story, and it just broke through in this massive, undeniable way.
It smashed expectations right out of the gate with a $48 million opening. But what's really important is that it had legs. It just kept going, week after week, climbing all the way to $261 million right here in the States. That makes it the highest-grossing original film of the 2020s so far. That's not just big, it's a statement. It's like audiences are practically screaming for something new.
And like I said, the critics are right there with the audiences. Just look at this poll. Sinners isn't just winning, it's completely dominating the conversation. It ran away with it. I mean, getting way more votes than new movies from masters like Steven Soderbergh and Danny Boyle, that's serious. And check this out. It was on 70% of all the ballots. You almost never see critics agree on something like that. It just tells you, this movie is something really, really special.
So let's talk about blues, blood, and brotherhood. Okay, so what is it about this movie? Why are those numbers so huge? Well, to really get it, you have to dive into the world of the film. Because this isn't just some generic, spooky backdrop for a horror movie. No, it's a deeply researched, fully realized world, and it is the foundation for everything that comes next.
So Coogler drops us right into 1932 Mississippi. And this is the height of the Jim Crow era, right? A really intense, oppressive time in the American South. And the detail, oh my man, it's just incredible. Everything from the sets to the costumes, it feels so immersive. Now, one critic who called it a postcard from the 30s, they absolutely nailed it.
And at the heart of it all, you've got these four main characters. First, you have to talk about Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers Smoke and Stack. It is a powerhouse performance. He makes them so distinct that by the middle of the movie, you totally forget it's the same actor. Then you've got their cousin Sammy, this incredible blues musician, and this mysterious newcomer, Remick, who, well, let's just say he's the one who gets the whole terrifying ball rolling.
Yeah, and this quote right here, it gets to something really unique about how this movie is structured. It's patient, it takes its time. The whole first act isn't even a horror film. It's a straight-up character drama about family and survival. And Coogler does that on purpose. He makes you really, truly care about these people first. So when the horror finally arrives, it's not just a jump scare. It's genuinely heartbreaking.
All right, now for the vampire as assimilation. Look, this is not just another monster movie. Not even close. The real reason Sinners has hit so hard with people is because of its powerful central idea. This metaphor that everybody's been talking about, the idea that the vampirism in the movie is really about racial assimilation.
The movie uses the horror of being a vampire to dig into this really complex, really painful topic. So getting bitten is not just about, becoming a monster. It's a symbol. It's about the pressure to give up who you are to fit in. It's about that tempting promise of power and acceptance, But the cost is everything. It's your identity, your community, your soul.
And this is where it gets really smart. The lead vampire, Remick, he's Irish. And that is not a random choice at all. It's deeply rooted in history. See, Irish immigrants in America were once an oppressed group, but over time they were able to assimilate and become part of what we call whiteness. So Remick, in the movie, he represents that. He's someone from a historically oppressed group who, instead of choosing solidarity, chose to join the power structure. And now, he's the one doing the oppressing.
And the film puts these two ideas right next to each other to make a really sharp contrast. For the Irish immigrants, assimilation meant they got power and privilege, and they still got to keep their own culture. But for the black characters in the film, the offer he's making is a cruel joke. It's presented as cultural appropriation. The vampires want to drain their vitality, their creativity. They take the culture, but they destroy the people.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It gets to the heart of that dark bargain Remick represents. His whole character is this terrifying reminder that just because your group was once oppressed, it doesn't automatically make you one of the good guys. He's offering a deal, right? Join me, you'll be powerful, you won't feel pain. But the price is your soul, your individuality, your community. He is the ultimate predator, feeding on other people's pain.
So you have this immense pressure, and the film brilliantly shows us 3 different ways people can respond through its main black characters. You have Stack. He gives in, choosing that false promise of a life without pain. Then there's his brother, Smoke. He says, no way, and goes down fighting for his culture. But it's Sammy, the musician, who finds a third path. He doesn't just give in or die fighting, he survives by preserving and celebrating his art. It's like the film is saying that culture itself can be a form of resistance.
Which leads us right to our next section, the power of music. And that music, the Delta Blues, it's the absolute heart of the culture that the vampires are trying to consume. In Sinners, the music isn't just in the background. It's practically its own character. It's the soul of the community, and it's also the very thing the predators are after.
You know, Ryan Coogler has said in interviews that this very idea was the seed for the whole movie. He was just fascinated by this paradox. How could people living under such awful conditions create an art form so beautiful and so influential that it would go on to change the entire world? In the film, that's exactly the power the vampires are drawn to.
And there's this one scene in the movie, everyone's talking about it, and it perfectly illustrates this. The character, Delta Slim, tells this absolutely horrific story about witnessing a lynching. And the second he's done, there's just silence. And then he starts humming the blues to numb his pain. And that Reddit user is spot on. That single moment teaches you more about where the blues comes from than any article ever could.
So the music in the film really is this double-edged sword. On one hand, for the community, it's a tool for healing and connection. On the other hand, its very power makes it a target for the vampires to exploit. And this mirrors a long, painful history of black art being loved, copied, and profited from by a dominant culture that often rejects the very artists who create it.
Okay, so is it a flawed masterpiece? Now, even with all the widespread praise and deep themes we've been talking about, the film's ambition has kicked off some pretty intense debates. Not everyone agrees that it successfully pulls off everything it's trying to do, especially in its chaotic final act.
So on one side of the debate, you have a lot of viewers who felt the film's complex mix of themes was woven together masterfully. As this fan on Reddit put it, Coogler bit off exactly as much as he could chew, and the film said everything it needed to say without ever feeling preachy.
But then you have the other side of the argument. A really common criticism is that the second half sacrifices all that rich character development for pure action. This review in The Gamer sums it up perfectly, that the emotional core of the film was thrown out the window in favor of gore-soaked spectacle, leaving a lot of its most interesting ideas unresolved.
And this whole debate really comes down to how you see that chaotic final act. Is it a narrative flaw, or is it a deliberate, powerful metaphor? Is it just messy storytelling, or is the messiness the entire point? A reflection of the historical reality that for many Black Americans in that era, stories didn't get neat resolutions. Lives were simply, brutally cut short.
And these are the questions people are arguing about passionately all over the internet. Like, does Sammy's music ultimately attract the monsters and cause more harm than good? Did we need to know more about the vampires? Should the ending have been more clear? Did the film just try to do too much at once? The very fact that people are having these intense debates is a sign of a truly complex and thought-provoking film.
Okay, final section, more than a movie. Because, no matter where you land in those debates, one thing is absolutely clear. This film's massive success has made it something more than just entertainment. It's become a cultural statement.
I mean, so many big movies today feel like they were made by a committee. Sinners stands out because it's the exact opposite. Ryan Coogler said he wanted to use the success he'd had to make the thing that only I could make. He poured his personal history and his artistic obsessions into this project, and the result is something deeply personal, which is so rare for a film of this scale.
And this is maybe the most crucial point. Sinners has become this powerful, real-world argument for the commercial and artistic value of diversity and inclusion in Hollywood. At a time when DEI initiatives are being questioned and even rolled back, this film proves their value not by giving a lecture, but just by being so excellent.
Its global success directly refutes that cynical, old, and frankly racist Hollywood belief that stories centered on black characters don't travel overseas. With hundreds of millions earned internationally, Sinners proves that authentic, culturally specific storytelling isn't a barrier, it's actually a gateway to universal human themes that connect with everyone, everywhere. And that leaves us with a final thought. The phenomenon of Sinners, an original, personal, ambitious, and unapologetically black story becoming a global blockbuster, isn't just a success story for one film, it's a powerful message to the entire industry. It proves there's this vast, untapped potential for authentic storytelling, and it confirms that audiences all over the world are hungry for rich, complex stories that challenge and inspire us.